Welcome back to the season three premiere of the Flying G Huddle. You're inside looking to Gladwin football. I'm Casey Campbell. I am your host, and back for another year. It's Gladwin head football coach Mark Jarsfer. Hello, Mark. How are you?
Doing good, Casey. Summer has flown by and we're getting ready for another season of football.
Yeah, it absolutely has. So I know at this point summer has really kind of just wrapped up for you guys. I know this next week is well, it could be you can do football activities. It's not a full-on dead period like it was the first week of the first week of July. But I know that several coaches like to treat it as a dead period. But you still can condition, you still can do things. But how has the summer really gone, and what is next week going to look like before that big day on the 11th?
Yeah, we had a great summer. We structured it a little bit differently this year, and it kind of turned into a little bit of a grind. But there's pros and cons to it. We use one of our 15 dates that the MHSA allows us in the summer in June, and then really we try to give all of June to the rest of June to baseball and basketball and just letting kids be kids and go on trips with their families and stuff like that. Obviously, we still had the weight room going in June as well. But then, as you mentioned, the dead week over the 4th of July, where there's no football activities, no weight rooms, anything like that. We tied that in a little bit with the Gladwin County Fair. Was that following week after the 4th of July, and so we extended our dead week kind of into that. And then at the tail end of July, we crammed, the rest of our dates into there. And so that's what I mean with it being a grind. But obviously, with going that many days straight at the end of July, it was a good opportunity for us to get a lot of work in. And so that stuff's all fresh, in our guys' minds. And we just finished up our team camp down in Montrose. We do that Veer camp with Tony Anise and his staff and lots of other great programs throughout the state. And that kind of is the culminating point of our summer. And we came out of that feeling pretty optimistic about the season and like we're ready to get things underway.
Yeah. So let's preview the 2025 season. What are we going to expect out of the Flying G's this year?
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting year. I mean, obviously we lost, a lot of good senior players last year that had major contributions to our program. And obviously every team does that each year. You can't keep them forever. But with that outgoing class, we have a lot of young players coming up. I would anticipate anywhere between 5 and 10 sophomores playing major roles on the varsity team. Obviously, we have some key pieces returning as well that are upperclassmen, and so I think that's where it gets interesting is trying to blend all of those pieces together, get them on the same page, and get them pulling in the same direction, while doing that with in my opinion, what's one of the toughest Division 5 schedules in the state.
Yeah. We'll get to the schedule in just a moment. Let's talk about some of the players that are going to be out there for Gladwin. So we'll start with offense, then go to defense, and then special teams.
Yeah, and obviously we don't have any of these guys pegged into starting roles or anything like that yet. Still got a few weeks of practice to go, and as I mentioned, there's going to be a lot of young guys, fighting for time and that sort of thing. But a few notable pieces worth mentioning as returning guys. Colton Finnegar is coming into his third year as our starting quarterback. And so anytime, you get a 3-year quarterback in high school, that can be almost a little bit of a cheat code. He obviously has a great handle on our offense, and we're expecting really big things out of him this year. Preston Willert is back for his third year at running back in our offense, and so very similar thing. He's just developed, in the weight room and has come along really well. This is his first year being quite healthy to start the season in a while, and so obviously we're really excited for that. Just some of the skill guys, Cruz, Balsrak, and Logan Walters were up last year as sophomores, and played sparingly on offense and in limited roles. But now we'll be expecting more from them. Into this year, Talon Goodwin is another guy that's going into his senior year. He played a big role on defense last year, and he'll be used in larger capacity on offense than in years past. This upcoming year, Braden Randall, very similar situation to Talon, played on our defense this last year. Not much on offense, but obviously with the departure of a lot of those last year seniors, we have a lot of openings on the offensive side of the ball at skill position. So he'll be, working his way in there. Kind of with some of our offensive linemen. We have Max Bars coming back this year. He's going to be a junior. Started last year as a sophomore. A lot stronger this year. He's mentally in a really good spot. Really likes to get after it, so we're excited about him. Similarly, Harvey Grove, he's been on the varsity team since he was a freshman. Started there all last year on the offensive line, and he's one of the better linemen that I've ever coached. Just as far as his mentality goes and his aggressive style of play, he really likes to get after people, and that's a good thing to have on your offensive line. Ethan Bruner played, a little bit of offensive line for us last year, had some injuries at times, but has a little bit of experience coming back. He'll be a nice piece for us. Jackson McKinnon is another one that's going into his senior year that's going to be getting time on our offensive line. And kind of like I mentioned with the other guys, he just has the right mindset, go getter, tough kid. When you have those kind of qualities, it makes for a good thing for your football team. Dominic Davies is coming back. He started last year as a sophomore, 4 or 5 games down the stretch when we did have injuries at the offensive line, and so he's got some good experience coming back. And then kind of moving on to, some of the young guys that we'll have coming up that have played, crucial roles for us in the past. Brunson Bigham is coming back for his sophomore year. He had a couple awesome plays and catches down the stretch for us, up in Kingsford and in the Ogama game. And it really came on strong at the end of that year, and so we're hoping that he picks up right where he takes or left off, and can be a good offensive piece for us. Jacob Paul started, down the stretch last year as a freshman. The last 4 or 5 weeks as well at outside linebacker. He'll be up for his sophomore year this year. And hoping to get him, more involved on the offense in various different roles. Just a great athlete. Some of the other young guys that have been working with us over the summer that are going to be sophomores this year. MJ McDonald, really tough runner. Played, primarily on our JV team last year. Brock Clever, good speed and shifty back, tough back. Carson Reed is a sophomore lineman for us, along with Mark Molesworth, just two really big kids. Obviously young, only going into the sophomore year, but they'll definitely find time on our offensive line this year. Mateo Persky, more of a defensive player, but he's really, really tough defensive lineman. And all of these young guys are going to have to give us good reps if we want to get where we want to be ultimately at the end of the year.
Yeah. I don't know where we left off, but offensively, did we break down defense yet?
Not all the way through it. No, I mean, when you're in these rural small town programs, all of these names are going to pop back up on the defensive side
True.
as well. And so, across the defensive line, like I mentioned, Mateo Persky, we'll get some reps there. Obviously, Bars and McKinnon, they'll be, if they're offensive linemen, generally they're defensive linemen. We have Grove coming back, as I mentioned, for his third year. He's just a go-getter on the defensive side of the ball as well. So he'll be a great asset. Bruner is somebody that played a little bit for us at times on the defensive line as well. He's just a very technical player. Um, Willert has started all 3 years at inside backer for us. Very instinctive player, tough player. Definitely the heart and soul of our defense. Talon Goodwin started next to him last year in the middle. So we get both of our inside backers back. Uh, Cruz, Balsarak, Bronson Bigham. Um, those guys both, played in our secondary last year. Logan Walters was in our secondary, so a lot of the same names, coming back. At the end of the day, we have on both sides of the ball just a handful of guys that have played a ton of reps and have a ton of experience. But there will be a lot of new faces or guys that really have only played in limited roles filling in that we're going to need to take up. Big chunks of our snaps and perform at a high level.
Absolutely. Let's talk special teams.
Yeah, so that'll be another interesting one. Obviously, we've had a great run of kickers here, with Trayton Seeger and Anna Seaback in the past and Eric Rogo last year. But obviously, all of those guys are gone now. And we've been working on developing some kickers. Brian Tyrell is a name that has been working out with us in the weight room all winter. He's a dual sport soccer kid. We've had a good, string of those types of kickers that have done well for us. Madison Lockwood is another one. She kicked on our JV team last year, and she's trying to win an extra point kicking job. Another one that's worked hard, great soccer player as well. And so that's just kind of been our thing. We dip into that side of the sports world because they seem to be really good at kicking things. And so if you're good at kicking things, it translates well, regardless the shape of the ball. That's been our experience. And so, we're hopeful that between those two, or others, if needed, that we can shore up that kicking game and make sure that we have a strong special teams unit again this year.
Yeah. Okay, so I think we've talked about all the kids. Now let's go through this schedule that you have. It's a lot different. I'll just run through it here real quick as I pull it up. Yeah, so it starts week one at home against Flat Rock, September 5th, week two at Spring Lake, September 12th, home against Ogama Heights, September 19th at Clare, September 26th, home against Standish Sterling, October 3rd at Shepherd, October 10th, home against Midland Bullet Creek. The Jack Pine crossover game will be week eight, and then week nine, finishing out the regular season at Goodrich. So a lot of new opponents this to the schedule this year, and of course the second year of the newly formed Jack Pine Conference.
Yeah, I mean, like I mentioned earlier, this might be the hardest Division Five schedule in the state of Michigan this year. If it's not the hardest, it certainly makes a case for it. Flat Rock is coming off from back-to-back semifinal appearances, and they're one of the best programs in Division Five, in my opinion. They do just a great job down there. They're always organized, and obviously, when you're making back-to-back semi-final appearances, you're a good program. It's not just a group of kids that just carried you through. You do things right on a lot of different levels, and so we're excited for that matchup. It's a great way to kick off our season. Both of our programs have been in the top 10 for a number of years now. Either throughout the season or at the end of it. And so anytime you can get a big time showdown like that anywhere on your schedule, that's awesome. But especially to start the year and at home will be cool for our kids and our community. Spring Lake is another new opponent for us. Obviously, we got to travel over there west of Grand Rapids, and so that'll be quite the little commute for us. I think it's about 3 hours. Coach Mallory has been there now 4 or 5 years, came over from Cadillac after taking them to a Ford Field appearance, I believe. And so, he's got a good thing rolling over there. They're a D4 school, and I would expect them to be very tough. And so that'll be a good challenge for us as well. Those are our two non-conference games that we open the season with. Week 3, like you mentioned, Ogama Heights playing them, I think, for the 9,000th time in like 3 years. And it's always a battle. It feels like we always play twice a year and we always split. They're always, hovering around the top 10. So it's another one of those top 10 style matchups. Coach Miller always has them ready to go. Their players. It's turned into quite a rivalry with us. Our kids, know each other just from playing throughout all the various sports in our league, and we always know we're going to be in for a great matchup that week. Same thing week 4 at Clare. They got us last year, and they're the same thing, right? Like there had been a number of years that went by where Gladwin just couldn't beat Clare, and then over the last couple years, it's we got them a couple times. They got us in the playoffs the one year. They got us last year, and you're just guaranteed to have a great close matchup. They're two programs that really know each other well, two coaching staffs that both do a great job. And so, when you look at those first 4 weeks, especially, it's like, holy cow, there's no breaks. They're Flat Rock, Ogama, and Clare. I think we're all in the top 10 at some point last year of Division 5, and we got three out of the first 4 weeks are those guys to start the year, and then you sprinkle in a D4 Spring Lake, who's going to be very challenging. That's tough. Last year Standish was top 10 in D6. This year they're joining into the D5 party, and so again, week 5 is just a butcher's row. Very same thing like Ogama, rivalry. Our kids know each other. They're super competitive. You know, their coaching staff is as good as it gets. They always have those kids ready to go. They're so tough and physical and just always playing with a chip on their shoulder. It's just going to be an absolute, physical battle type game. And that's right in the middle of the schedule. Shepherd and Bullet Creek are the next two, both going into year 2 of their respective coaching staffs. And so you'd expect them to continue on, and anytime you get consistency in your coaching staffs and you're going year after year with the same stuff, there's going to be significant improvement. And so those will be wrapping up our bigger school side of our conference. Then we get into the crossover, which you never know who you're going to have. Again, that's played based on standing. So if you're first, second, third, like one plays one, two plays two, three plays three, and so on. And so, that'll be to be determined later. And then you wrap things up with the reigning, Division 4 state champions and Goodrich on the road at their place. And so it's as tough as a schedule as obviously I've ever been a part of. As I've mentioned multiple times, I think it's the toughest one in the state. But knowing that, no one's going to feel sorry for us. We've had our fair share of success. And we just have to find a way to rise to the occasion here.
So let's talk about now we have the schedule. Of course, I know a lot of people are going to ask, like, of course, the three new opponents, Flat Rock, Spring Lake, and Goodrich, will replace Frankenmuth, Beaverton, and Carmen Ainsworth. So of course that's where those matchups came from. But yeah, and then of course heading into this next couple of weeks, you got the scrimmage, of course, the first week of practices, and but then there's what's Gladwin going to be up to the next couple of weeks?
Yeah, so as you mentioned, this next week until practice starts on, August 11th is considered an MHSA down period. And so it's a little bit different than the dead period where, in the dead period, you can't do anything. You can't lift. There's no team activities whatsoever. The down period is just no football related activities. So as you mentioned, you're able to condition, lift weights, all of those types of things. And so this next week we have those types of opportunities available for our kids. They can lift weights, they can come in, they can get some of the conditioning type stuff in. Those are obviously all voluntary at this point. It's, some kids will choose to take that last trip with their family and those types of things before we get really busy. And so that's kind of what the next week looks like. And then once we hit August 11th, it's go time as far as camp goes, and kind of look at that week as like our training camp. They're obviously longer practices, 2 days. The way that we do ours is we kind of stack them right after each other, give them like a 30, 45-minute break in the middle of them, but one practice right after another. We'll do that for that whole first week of practice. Bring them in on Saturday, have a shorter practice just to make sure that we get enough practices in to be able to scrimmage that following Thursday. And then, as we get into week two, it's kind of trying to fine tune things and to get ourselves ready for the scrimmage. The scrimmage will be that Thursday of the second week of practice. We're going over to Freeland again, which was a great scrimmage for us. Had Freeland, Midland Dow, and Bullet Creek, who isn't our league, but no one's going to show all of their stuff at the scrimmage, and so it ends up being fine. Just kind of running your base stuff and getting a feel and making sure that the kids are kind of tuned up and ready to go for the season. And then that week three, you get into it, and it's game week. Playing on a short week with Labor Day stuff looming, and so we're excited about the next couple weeks and getting a chance to play. You start this journey, a little bit really back in January with the weight room and all those early mornings, and we lift 3 days a week throughout the off season before school, and so that ends up being early. I think we started at 6:45 this year, 6:45 to 7:45, so an hour a morning, 3 days a week from January all the way until August. And so there's a lot of work and sacrifice and commitment on, our guys' behalf. And now that we get into the football part of it, that's where it starts to get fun. And we're excited about it.
Absolutely. Well, any staff changes this year, and also kind of preview what JV and middle school are going to be like.
Yeah, so staff changes. Ethan Gary was an assistant JV football coach for us. He has departed, just busy with life and coaching a couple other sports. His wife's the head softball coach in our district, and so they got a busy lifestyle being involved with all those other sports, and football obviously takes up a tremendous amount of time. And so he was a great coach for us, and we're surely going to miss him and his contributions, to what he was able to do for us. To fill his spot, we were able to hire Dan Willis, who's a Gladwin alum. I played back in the early 2000s, and he's been awesome, just being at everything this summer and getting involved and getting to learn the kids and the program. And he's going to do a great job for us. He's teaching in our district, I believe, fifth grade in our intermediate building. And so, anytime you're able to get, teachers that are or coaches that are in the district and can get to build relationships with kids even at a younger age, and then obviously the schedules are really conducive with having the summer period to be around and involved a lot more, and so we're really excited to have him on board as well. Another one that's going to be helping us out this year is a volunteer coach is Seth Harton. He's I can't call him a kid anymore, but back in the day when I was a really young coach and working in Clare, I was fortunate enough to coach Seth, and so I had a relationship with him that way. He works for my wife at the hospital as a manager there. And so uh, he had mentioned that he would like to get back involved into coaching, and I'm always looking for good people, and he fits the bill for that. And so, although he hasn't been around yet, he's going to be involved a little bit this year, with the hopes of getting him more heavily involved in the future. And so, outside of that, we're bringing back the same coaching staff, which is great. I mean, as I mentioned earlier when I was talking about the schedule type of things, that just consistency and continuity is super important in building a program and maintaining a program. And so we've been really fortunate to have really good coaches, and they just keep coming back year after year. And so that obviously is a real asset for our program.
Absolutely. And then finally, just to kind of give an update, what are some of last year's seniors up to, and where are some of them going to be heading?
Yeah, so obviously Trace Corlew was a big part of our team, varsity player for 4 years. He's going to be playing college football at Saginaw Valley, and so when you have when you're fortunate enough to have Division two GLIAC football players in rural small town America, they're obviously great assets, and so he's one of those kids that's not replaceable. It takes it's going to take a village of people to replace what his production was. But we're excited for him to see him thrive at SVSU and continue on his football journey, because he's been great at it every step of the way from youth, into high school with all the travel stuff that he did, and now moving on to college. Have no doubt that he'll go on to be, very successful in that realm. Jaden Miskey and Mason Meyer are both going to play college baseball. And so, that'll be cool for them. Again, anytime you lose collegiate athlete type guys, that's a major loss, because to play at that next level, you have to have a phenomenal mindset that's just different from the ordinary kid. And so, we're fortunate to have both of those guys in our program. Drake Ross is going to go pole vault, and contribute at SVSU. So again, just another collegiate athlete. Isaac Wheeler is a guy that played as a first-year player for us last year. He's going on to play hockey. There's so many different levels of hockey. I don't understand it all, but he's going to play hockey at the next level. And so again, just a very talented, athletic kid that's going on to do cool things, post high school. Few other guys that had, offered major contributions to our program that we're going to be missing. Matthew Lechner, who on this show last year, we've talked about him quite a bit, just an athletic, strong, physical player. Caden Reed was a cool story. We just kind of transformed his body and switched positions, and was able to help us that way. Brady Dickinson was another guy that was really good for us over the years. Eric Rogo made some big kicks for us. And so, yeah, it was a really, really good senior class. There wasn't a ton of them, but the guys that we did have, were very impactful players on both sides of the ball for the most part, and certainly going to leave a lot of space for new guys to fill in and try to pick up where they left off. And so it'll be an exciting year this year, watching that all come together, and hopefully we can get some good production out of those new young guys, and continue on with the tradition that we've kind of put in place here.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's going to do it for the season preview episode of the Flying G Huddle. Tune in for in a few weeks' time, and we'll preview the opening game of the season against Flat Rock. So we will talk to you then.